as we begin to do exactly what Yeshua has said, begin to see and understand that his coming forth is from the foundation of the earth. So he's already told us what to expect. So when you see, so how do you see? You open your eyes and you look for the things that he has already spoken from the very beginning. And so again, his coming forth is from the very beginning of time. So what we're going to do today, my topic will be from the beginning and where are we right now. So we're going to take a closer look into these seals, the trumpets, the bowls. I don't have the bowls here right now because that's not really going to be my focus here today. The seals, we're just going to kind of take up from where we left off. We talked about the fifth seal, the sixth seal, and the seventh seal. We talked about the seventh trumpet. We talked about the seventh seal, of which I want to make sure we understand we're not there yet. We're not there. So I'm doing my best to track what Yahweh says will be, Yeshua says will be, and track it by what has and what is happening in our day and time. So, from the seventh seal, I want to open up a little bit more. So I'm connecting back to my previous teachings. So I'm going to connect to the seventh seal. We're not at the seventh seal yet. So I want to make sure that is not confusing. But I want to talk about the future a little so that we can understand how to connect to where we are today, knowing that these seals will conclude. And at the conclusion of the seals, the trumpets will conclude. And as the trumpets conclude, then the bowls will conclude. But I can't talk about all of those at one time because that's just too much. So over the years, I've been giving here some here, some there. And so today, I want to go in just a little bit further. And so from the very beginning, I want to look at right now, this very moment, and then I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So what I have here is an image from the UN of 2026. They just had a meeting just a few days ago, a couple of days ago, the 24th, 25th, and I think the 26th. But I'll read through so that we can begin to understand my point here. The UN approved a resolution to call the transatlantic slave trade the gravest crime against humanity and to advocate for reparations on March 25th. The resolution urges global efforts to address systematic racism and collaborate with international organizations on reparatory justice. The United States, Argentina, and Israel opposed the resolution, while 52 countries abstained and 123 countries voted and approved. So what we have before you is a picture of President John Mahama, who is the president of Ghana at the present time, is still, I would say, probably still in the United States. But we know he was there and carried out a number of meetings and led meetings by President Muhammad. Now, why is this important? The Ghanaian president, whose team represents the AU, the African Union, has stood together with President Muhammad as the spokesperson to lead the effort in addressing the United Nations. And the conclusion is the approved acknowledgement of the Atlantic slave trade, and not just led it, but it is called the gravest crime against humanity. Now, I myself, as I was watching the video, I didn't think they were going to get this approved because of one country we already knew was going to vote against it, which is the United States of America, which is very important because they carry veto power, and anything put into law, they veto. One of 5 countries that have veto power cannot win. If you have 100 plus countries, if you have almost 90 countries vote for a resolution, and one of those 5 countries vote against it, it is not carried because 5 countries have veto power. So I didn't think this would pass. But I wanna just magnify a bit who, once again, voted against. United States, number 1, Israel, number 2, and Argentina. Why is Argentina among this group? Well, we have 1, 2, 3. Truth is established at the number of what? 3. So we have truth that they were trying to vote against it, and it may not have carried. And I still don't understand how it did. There's quite obviously more that I need to understand because the United States voted against, but it still won. There's 5 countries that are that have veto power, and none of them are African. So there's France, there's UK, United States, Germany, and Russia. So to move on from here, 52 countries abstain. What does abstain mean? Abstain means neutral. We're not voting for or against. We remain neutral, but we reserve our right to vote. So 52 countries voted. So let me just analyze really quick and I'm going to move. 123 countries approved, carried, and we won. 1 plus 2, so thinking caps, 1 plus 2 equals how much? 3 plus 3 equals how much? 6. So 1, 2, 3. 123. 6 is the number of, in creation, what? Man. All right, something to do with man. Something is going on with man. We talked about 666 before. Yahweh says his number is the number of man. What is man? 6. So there's 3 things that we learned in the past, and I'm not going to go through today, that the 6th seal, the 6th trumpet, and the 6th bowl, there's a message there. So let me move from here. So how many How many abstained? 52 countries abstained. 5 plus 2 equals how much? 7. So there's some messages here that Yahweh is speaking to those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. Hallelujah. Yahweh is working in our behalf. So I'm going to do a very quick reminder of some things. I don't have time to dwell here. So I'm going to do a rapid section or rapid session where I have a couple of charts of numbers that I've done in the past. If this is your first time seeing it, forgive me because I'm going to move through. I have a lot more I need to get to in a timely manner. So Genesis chapter 15, verse 13 tells us, Yahweh speaks to Abraham and says, your descendants would be enslaved and mistreated for a period of 400 years. So, when did that 400-year period begin? 1619. Don't have time to do a lot of explanation, but 1619 is a very specific time. It's not talking about every nation of the world, but it's pointing to a very particular nation. And that nation really wasn't called what it is called today. But the land was there, and the people of African descent were being brought there by a number which was 144,000 per contract. And the United States, as they're called today, received over a period of time 144,000 African slaves. So, where did that conclude? If we add the 400 years to 1619, we have 2019, which is now the exile time period is over. It's done. That's completed. So, Daniel talks about 2,300 nights. The 430-year period has gone, coming out of Egypt. We added that to the time period that Daniel talked about, 2,300 nights, and we come up with 2,730. If you use that time to go from this time back, that will connect us to the Babylonian captivity. And so Daniel talks about the 1260, the 1290, the 1335, which is 666. I'm going to keep on moving because these are seals, trumpets, bowls. Hosea 6:2 tells us about Yeshua's return. In 2 days, he will stand us up as an army on the third day. Keep in mind, 1,000 years as 1 day, so we're talking about the second and third millennium. Zechariah talks about the 70 years. Daniel talks about Revelation. The question is asked, how long? And Yahweh answers the question. So that goes back to our 666. Then Revelation tells us how long that time period is, 42 months, which takes us to the beginning of the death of the two witnesses. Revelation and Daniel talks about the times and half times, which is 3.5 years. More witnesses. We're not here yet. We're in this time period, but we're not at First Chronicles, Corinthians. We're not at Corinthians chapter 15, verse 52, which is the last trump, when we are changed from mortal, put on our immortal, from mortal, we go into our immortal bodies, glorified bodies. So we're not there yet. So this is kind of going back to the very beginning. I have about 6,000 years, 7,000 which you can't see there, but there's more time that has to come. It's moving a little slow. I'm pressing. Okay. So I'm going to go, we're looking at millennials, 1,000, 2,000. 1,000. Well, 999 years. 0 to 999. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5, 6, 7,000, 8,000. I believe 10,000 years before what we have scripturally will be fulfilled. Where are we now? We are here. Yeshua was born here. So let me just kind of go through what I have for you. I've been working on this chart. This took a long time. So you kind of see what I mean when it takes, when I'm doing these charts. Scriptures, I'm not going through scriptures, although I'm labeling them, but I'm just giving a chart so we can see a very quick reminder of what is in the past, seeing what is present, looking forward to the future. So from 0 to 999, we're going to look at the creation of heaven and earth. Yahweh said, let there be light. Second day, then his spirit moved upon the waters. Well, his spirit moved upon the waters here, but he separated, he gave us water and then separated the dry land from the waters, the luminaries of heaven, sun, moon, the stars, the sea creatures, the birds were created on day 5. Mankind and animal kingdom were created on day 6, and he rested on the Sabbath day. This is so big. This is a category all by itself, but we got to keep it moving. So the first 1,000 years, we have before 1,000 and before 2,000, but 2,000 years really have come in at 1,656, the flood of Noah, the birth of Abraham, 1948. Isaac was born, and I didn't do something here. Isaac, this is not the correct time for Isaac. Isaac is 60 years, which is 2008, and I can see what happened. Okay, so 2008, Isaac is born. I know these numbers, so I'm giving to you as I can verify. How do I know? Because I go back to the begats, and Adam begat Seth. And so I've added all of those up, and that gives me a chart. All right, so I'm going to continue. Jacob was born, and then the 12 tribes. Moshe in the second day. Really the third day, but I'm going to kind of keep it moving so we can kind of see what started before that day, but what concluded during that day. So it's kind of difficult to put every date for every event, but let's just kind of move it so that we can keep seeing how Yahweh is continuing to work in our favor. So day 2, day 3, Moshe is born 80 years later. They're coming out of Mizraim. The Exodus happened. 2448, they entered into the promised land. 2488, how do we know? Because the scripture tells us 40 years later, King Shaul is the first king, David second, Solomon the third king. He died in the year 922 BC, and another kingdom was 200 years later. The numbers are going down. 200 years later, the northern kingdom was exiled, followed by the southern kingdom, 586 BC. And then we have a lot of these events happening during the third day or the third millennium. I'm just kind of keeping it in a very neat so that we can kind of keep it going, get enough on the slide. In other words, if you put too many places, you can't get the slide in the frame. The fourth day, the third and the fourth day, Yeshua is born, Passover. He is the Passover lamb. I have calculated it at 30 AD. He is sinless, the unleavened bread of heaven. He rose on the third day, became our first fruit, giving us the Holy Spirit, calls us as a bride. on Yom Teruah. This is the fall feast. These are to come. This has happened. This will happen. So this is actually during the sixth day. So Yom Teruah, the call of the bride, atonement, cleansing of the bride, and the wedding feast. Continuing with the time of Yeshua's return, he will be king forever, and he will judge the nations. He will deliver Israel, renew a covenant with the house of Israel, Judah, and Israel. The cleansing of the land and restoration of the people. So I'm going to kind of start with some scriptural proof as to what I've kind of shown, and show you that I'm not just naming some things, but I'm giving you some scriptural facts. And so I hope that it's clear enough that we can kind of follow along. So we're going to be at Hosea chapter 6, verse 1 through 4. We're going to look at the revival in 2 days, and on the third day, he says, I will stand you to live before me. Come. And verse 1. Come and let us turn back to Yahweh. For he has torn, but does heal us. He has stricken, but he binds us up. After 2 days, he shall revive us on the third day. He shall raise us up so that we live before him. Now, this is prophecy before Yeshua was born. But it's speaking of his first coming and his second return. Yahweh has gone, Yahweh, so that let me just back up. He shall raise us up so that we live before him, so let us pursue to know, Yahweh, his going forth, is as certain as the morning, and he comes to us like the rain, like the latter rain watering the earth. Ephraim, what would I do without you? Yehuda, what would I do with you? Let me make sure I didn't add something in there. I did. Ephraim, what would I do with you? Yehuda, what would I do with you? For your loving commitment is like a morning cloud, and like the early dew, it goes away. So he's letting us know that the whole house of Israel has sinned against him. Why? Because we did not keep the loving commitment of Mount Sinai when we entered into the whole house, the covenant of marriage. So there's coming a time when we will say, let us turn back. That is now. This is what's happening. You have many people who are coming to Africa and saying, let us go to the land. For whatever reason, I'm answering the call. Just let me go and get there. And we are being urged in our spirit. Many of us may not even understand why or what's pushing us. I remember before we came, I had the greatest desire to just get here. And many people I speak with, they're saying the same thing. So this is happening. And it says when? 2 days. And then it says after what? 2 days. On the third day. So we're in that time. And he comes to us as what? The latter rain. So if there's the latter rain, then there's also the former rain. So there's 2 time periods. There's the former, and then there's the latter. So we just have to, keep things in perspective. And so I'm going to start opening up something, introducing. I'm not going to get deep into this today. I'm going to come back with other teachings. But today, we're just going to open up a little bit of an introduction into some of my teachings that are to come. And we're going to look at the prophecy of Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 39, we're going to do verse 1 and 2, followed by verse 6 through 8. And we're going to look how Yahweh is going to make his name known. And the land is in trouble anytime Yahweh has to make his name known. Because remember, he had to make his name known to Pharaoh also. So we're going to look at today. What are we looking at now? And you, son of man, prophesy against God, and you shall say, thus says the Master Yahweh. Who's talking? Yahweh. See, I am against you, O God, the Prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal, and shall turn you around and lead you on, and bring you up from the uttermost part of the north, and bring you against the mountains of Israel. And I shall send fire upon Magog and on those who live undisturbed in the coastlands. And they shall know that I am Yahweh. And I shall make my set-apart name known in the midst of my people, and not let my set-apart name be profaned anymore. And the nations shall know that I am Yahweh, the set-apart one of Israel. See, it shall come, and it shall be done, declares the Master Yahweh. This is the day of which I have spoken. So in other words, he has spoke of a time where he will judge the nations in the valley of Jehoshaphat. People know it as Armageddon. Armageddon. But in the Hebrew, it is called Har-Megiddo. So this is prophecy that we are now looking at being stirred. So who are the people at war now? Well, the names have been changed because of land and time. But nonetheless, Yahweh knows every people group, but he also knows his land and those who are his people. Verse 9 through 13, followed by verse 17 and 22. We're going to look at something that we know carries the signature of Yahweh. Something is going to burn for 7 years. Something is also going to be buried for 7 months. So let's take a look. And those who inhabit the cities of Israel shall go out and set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shields and the armor and the bows and arrows, the clubs and the spears. And they shall make fires with them for 7 years, and take no wood from the field, nor cut down any from the forest. For with the weapons they make fire, and they shall plunder those who plundered them. Oh, here comes Yahweh's revenge on those. And looted those who looted them, declares the Master Yahweh. Who is talking? Yahweh. And this is Ezekiel, long before Yeshua was born. And it shall be on that day that I give God a place for a burial site there in Israel. And the valley of those passing by east of the sea, and stopping those passing by, because there they shall bury God and all his crowd, and shall call it the valley of Harmon God. And the house of Israel shall bury them for 7 new moons, in order to cleanse the land. And all the people of the land shall bury them, and it shall be for a name to them on the day that I am esteemed, declares the Master Yahweh. So what are we looking at? Those who are in the land at this particular time. So this is prophecy. We're not there yet. But it's talking about when the land has been restored to its people, Israel. There's going to be a 7-year period of fire. Wow. Has this happened yet? No. So we know that this, without a doubt, is future, is prophecy, because it has not happened in the history of the land of Israel since 1948. It is still to be fulfilled. What year will it be fulfilled? Yahweh. It's in his time. The next part says, I will give God a place for a burial site where? In the mountains of Israel. So there will be a new name which will be known from that period of time, the Valley of Harmon Gog. They will be burying them, the house of Israel shall be burying them for 7 new moons, or 7 months. That tells you right there, Israel have to be in the land in order to fulfill this prophecy. So I see this as very close, continuing, because I want to get through as much as I can. Verse 17 and 22, actually. We're going to look at, very carefully, 2 feasts of Yahweh. The first feast, he's calling for his chosen people. Come out of her, my people. That's the first group. The second group will be animals. It is actually the predatory animals. He's calling for 2 feasts. Keep the feast, eat the bread. In just a few days, we will be eating the bread. Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 17. And you, son of man, thus said the Master, Yahweh, speak to every sort of bird and every beast of the field. Assemble, gather yourselves and come. Gather from all around to my slaughtering, my altar, which I am slaughtering for you, a great slaughtering on the mountains of Israel, and you shall eat flesh and drink blood. That's the one I don't want to be at. Continuing, verse 22. And the house of Israel shall know that I am Yahweh the Elohim from that day onward. So we will know because of this action. When we are safe in a place of safety, and the second feast is being had, how do I know? Where will Israel be? Well, remember, Matthew chapter 25, foolish and the wise. The wise will go in, the door will close, and the foolish have to survive. I have a little saying, keep the feast, or you could be the feast. So that's just my little way of saying it. But we're going to continue. I want to begin to just move through some things that will help us. How do we know where we are right now? What will help us to understand? So I'm going to begin to go into some images of today in modern time to witness. And you see for yourself Where are we? So follow me. This is from the year 2023, September 22nd, 2023, at the UN. Netanyahu, who is the president of Israel at current time, in the past address to the UN General Assembly, warns of the threat posed by the nuclear Iran address. Netanyahu added, now as the circle of peace expands, I believe that a real path towards a genuine peace with our Palestinian neighbors can finally be achieved. For years, my approach to peace was rejected by the so-called experts. Well, they were wrong, he said. The Abraham Accords herald the dawn of a new age of peace. And this is the map that he's holding, proposing a peace where we have now achieved, or they have now achieved, a certain level of peace moving forward. If they continue to follow, then every place in green will be the new level of peace achieved. So what has been done in the past 5 years from my address as he speaks, we have gotten to a certain level. And if you follow, this is where he said they counted it as wrong. But if you follow what I propose now, this will be the new level of peace and what it will reflect. So I remember this and I followed since that time. So leaving that time, going to a more recent time, and I should also mention that was the start of the war. Just a couple of days, a few days later. 2 days from, well, I looked up the time period of that time. So September 22nd was when he proposed. September 24th was Yom Teruah, the calling of the bride. So why is this taking place during the feast days? Because Yahweh is speaking to those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. That's all I'm trying to tell you. So that's important to know that the war that is currently raging now, Hamas hit the land of Israel from the air, the land, and from the sea on October 7th, 2023, just a few days later. So there's a scripture that I want you to keep in mind. They shall say what? Peace and safety. What comes after peace and safety? Sudden destruction. So after President Netanyahu declared peace, there was definitely sudden destruction. So we are seeing scriptures be fulfilled. So I want to move into a more recent time in what was held in Switzerland. It was held in Switzerland, and I will read, these are news clippings, by the way, as I read through. Nearly 3,000 high-level participants from businesses, governments, and beyond, including Prime Minister Mark Carney, which is from, if I remember correctly, Canada, plus untold numbers of activists, journalists, and outside observers are converging in the Switzerland town of Davos for the World Economic Forum's an annual meeting occurring at a time of heightened tensions between the United States and its NATO allies, including Canada, Greenland, and Europe, especially over the Greenland crisis, there were major speeches by world leaders, including Mark Carney, Ursula von der Leyen, and Donald Trump, President Donald Trump. So these are world leaders, world presidents, in order to speak and address the UN. You have to be an accepted world leader, and as prime minister or president or whichever they would call their primary country leader. But anyway, if you see the image, you notice something is not there. I don't see a lot of people of color in this image. And this is a world, it says World Economic Forum. So where's the rest of us? Where's the African leaders? Moving on. But in this time, January 22nd, I want to first read through so you can know what this is. January 22nd, 2026, Trump Board of Peace will work with others, including the United Nations. President Trump opens his remarks as the signing ceremony by Congress. At the signing, President Trump opens his remarks at the signing ceremony by calling it a very exciting day. And amidst concern that he could be trying to build the board into a new global body to take on the role long held by the UN. He said, "We will work with many others, including the United Nations." So what are we looking at? We're looking at a picture of what was numbered as the first 22 nations to sign along President Trump. And we see President Netanyahu of Israel sitting there, and as they are sitting there, this is now called the Board of Peace. Wait a minute. We had President Netanyahu in the year 2023 speak concerning peace. We have now achieved a level of peace. And going forward in the next 5 years, what we can achieve. And just a few days later, October 7th, which was the last great day of Sukkot. Now, why are these happening during the feast days? Those of us who keep the feast know that these are witnesses to what Yahweh is doing and what he is saying. So those of us who have eyes to see, ears to hear, can see and hear what Yahweh is saying. This is before the whole world. But who is seeing it? Well, I started out with a meeting that took place just a few days ago, this past week, where it was declared worldwide that the transatlantic slave trade was now declared the greatest atrocity, crime to mankind. Why now? See the writing on the wall. This is the time. And so I have more that I'm going to get to, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to paint a picture to you, and I'm going in sequential order with a lot of this so that I don't miss what I need to show you. So I'm at January 22nd, so that's a few weeks back. We're in March now. A few weeks back, this took place. The war, well, let me not get ahead of myself, but let's keep in mind the board of peace. Mm-hmm. Well, January 28th, my wife, myself, and two other Messianic Hebrew leaders, Prophetess Deborah, Laura McCormick, we all met down in South Africa and spent a couple of weeks touring through, and some things that we experienced there, we talked about, we were looking at, and sometimes when you stand back, you see the picture better. So I'm getting ready to show you the picture better that we were looking at, but we didn't quite see the whole picture. What I'm getting ready to bring to you now, we were aware of, and we were talking about. We had these conversations before this time, and we were looking at the sky. And let me go ahead and read through so I can show you what I'm talking about. 6 planets aligned on February 28th, 2026. A rare sight only happens from several months apart up to 20 years. So what happened? 6 planets aligned in one side of the horizon at one time. Not that they were all in one line, but they all were above the horizon and able to be seen either with the naked eye or with a little bit of help. I saw this, but I didn't see all 6. And so after I'm doing some study, I understand why. Because certain places couldn't view every one of them at the same time. So I went in and gave my report as we were all looking for them, anticipating them before they came. And I went out and I'm like, okay, it's got to be tonight. It's got to be tonight. I went out there and I looked and I came back in and I said to our group, I said, I see some of the planets out there, and I didn't see all 6. Now I understand why. After doing research, from certain places you could not see them all because it wasn't all in one line. The point was they were all above the horizon at one time. And sometimes it can't happen again for another 20 years. So, why is this important? How many planets were there? The answer is on the board. How many planets were aligned? 6. What is the number of 6 that we can kind of remember?
Creation, humans.
The 6th day of creation,
Humans.
man was created. So there's a message here related to man. Look, listen.
I saw one here, but it wasn't late. I saw one at our area.
Yes, you can see it.
I can't name the planet I saw.
Oh, you couldn't see it.
So Caleb is saying that they were able to see in this area as well. So as we were looking, because we did post around in different groups, that this time was coming. So that is great. There's another witness that during this time, we were looking towards the sky to see Yahweh. And for those who did see it, you are a witness. So again, what is the significance? Yahweh is speaking to man, and he's saying, pay attention. So let's continue. So February 28th, keep that date in mind because something else is about to be revealed. So February 28th, once again, 2026, war begins in the East. So here's an article. Conflict across the Middle East rages after the United States, Israel launch wide-range strikes on Iran. So here is the big one. It's not in its full nature yet. I got more that you should see. You see as I continue. Killing the country's supreme leader. Supreme leader. On what date? February 28th. The fight escalated quickly, spreading to Lebanon with casualties and damage mounting on all sides. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, who had led the country since 1989, was killed during the first wave of strikes. And when did it begin? On February 28th. The same night we were looking for the 6 planets. We had no clue what was taking place elsewhere. So now that we can look back, now we get a better picture of what was taking place in the earth. Still more to come. Retaliation by Iran and its allies reported strikes by Iran and pro-Iranian groups. So we're going to take a look. I have a map here, but let's go to the reading post. And again, these are news articles by major sources. And this source is BBC, verified by BBC. There have been strikes in the countries hosting U.S. bases: Qatar, Bahrain, Jordan, United Arab Emirates, or the UAE, and Kuwait, and the U.S. allied Oman and Saudi Arabia. And if you look at the map, every place you see in red has been activated during this war. Now, I know President Trump is trying not to call it a war. He's trying to call it a skirmish. A skirmish.
Yes.
And so they're trying to downgrade the actuality of it. But you have that many people involved in war that are being bombed, you gotta call it for what it is.
Right.
If it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. There has to be a duck. So I'm not going to go back through the names, but here they are: Cyprus, Lebanon, Israel. Look at Israel being bombed here. Look at Syria. Look at Iraq, Kuwait. Look at Iran. Look at all of these, Jordan. Look at all of these red dots where they're being hit, bombed. And this is raging forward. And when did this begin? February 28th. Here is Lebanon, so I'll go ahead and read. A new front in the war opened in Lebanon on March 2nd, when Iran-backed groups, Hezbollah, fired rockets at Israel's position, saying it was seeking to avenge Khomeini's assassination. So as they are fighting, I thought this was important. As it said, March the 2nd. Why is March the 2nd important? March the 2nd was a blood moon. So in the sky, remember we saw 6 planets in the sky, February 28th. 2 days later, we see Lebanon being hit. Moving on. Is this important? Yes. So here is just an example of the timeline, and I'll go ahead and read. But I used the timeline that they said people in the U.S. would see. Now, I was looking for this. We were looking for this as well. And I didn't see it as red. I went in, we were still in South Africa, and I went in and talked to the group there, us, my wife, and the two others, Prophetess Deborah and Maura McCormick. I said, I couldn't see it as red. And so, the blood moon, that is. I said, well, maybe I got out there too late, because at this time, we're trying to get to the airport because we're on our way back to our respective places. And so I'm watching the skies and looking for the blood moon, and I want to see it, and I want to witness for myself, and no. And so I did see a picture that people sent and said, here it is. And so here is an image of what the timeline would be. And so I'm going to go ahead and read through. On March 3rd, 2026, the full worm moon will slip into Earth's shadow and turn a copper red for 58 minutes. Wow, 58 minutes. This total lunar eclipse, often dubbed as blood moon, will be the last total lunar eclipse anywhere on Earth until the New Year's Eve 2028, and the last visible in the North America until June 26, 2029. So why are these dates important? Well, first of all, March 3rd, as I said, is a significant time because we are heading to the date of a new year in the Hebrew calendar, but we are not yet there. So it is concluding last year's time. Now, something I said that I didn't give yet. The Board of Peace was set up 2025, but not really mentioned until 2026, where President Trump sat in front and said he was the chairperson for life, for an indefinite period of time, which means for life. So he has set himself as the president, and he says, for anyone who wants to join, and I urge you all to join, it will cost every country $1 billion. And 22 of those countries signed up right away, with Trump being the very first to sign up. And then what about this will not be seen again until the year 2028. For those of you who are here, know why, so I'm not going to go into this in depth. But the year 2028 is a very special year we need to keep track on, so that we who are listening know that the witness is going forth now. So let's make the quick connection. 2025, and I want to count to 2028 and see how many years that is. So 2025, 2026, that's 2. 2027, that's 3. 2028, that's 4. And so I'm talking about a special period of time that could very easily fit into that. Times, and halftime. 2025 times. 2026 times. 1, 2. 2028 half times. So I'm going to leave it right there, and I'm just going to continue to move. So I want to look at March current date. Not going to go through a whole calendar, but we are currently at March the 28th. Okay, here we go. March the 28th. This is where we are in present day time, right now. So I want to find the new year. So let me go ahead and read through the start of Yahweh's new year, his Hebrew calendar year. The month of Aviv and the beginning of spring in those nations that have four, such as North America, that have 4 seasons. Where we are in Ghana, 2 seasons, dry and wet. So it won't be seen as easy here, but there are signs here as well. But I only see it because I have the experience of being born and raised in a country that have 4 seasons, knowing when they go from fall to spring. All right, so to find the new year, we must complete a revolution around the sun for X amount of revolutions, whether it's 12 or 13, that's not the conversation right now. But the new year is where we get to the new moon, as the scripture says. This is the beginning of the year for you. Exodus chapter 12. The beginning of the year for you. The first month of the year. So where is that on the Gregorian calendar? That is right here. March 19th, as you can see, it says the new moon. But during this night, which offered some confusion because we were expecting it to come on March the 20th. But it was before daybreak, it became it became 2% of light. And as we began to search and look back, different people in different groups were saying, wait a minute, it happened last night. So we had to go back and change our calendars because we went according to the 20th date and we counted 14 and we came to our time of Passover. So if we look at the 19th and count 14, so you're going to do it with me, and we're going to find when we have to celebrate Passover. Now, is everybody wrong? We're not talking about who's right, who's wrong. We're talking about obedience. If you're doing it, that counts as obedience. He didn't say everybody had to do it at the same time, at the right time. He didn't put it there. We're not saved by the law, but we're saved by his grace. And so this is the divine. This is how you understand that. It's as long as you're doing what he says do, your name is written in the Lamb's book of life. So let's understand what is the greatest period of time known to man, meaning the greatest atrocity of mankind being acknowledged by the world. 123 countries. 1, 2, 3. 3 plus 2 is 3. Plus 3 is 6. There is something he's saying to man. Understand the signs. Let's begin. The new moon, and we account. Here is the crescent or the waxing crescent. So we're going to follow. We're going to count to 14, and that tells us where we should celebrate the Passover. We celebrate the Passover on what? The 14th day, in the evening to evening, right? So let's begin to count. This is number 1, the new moon. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. April 1st. Although April is not on here, we know that after the 31st comes what? April 1st. So when is Passover? April 1st in the evening. Between evening to evening. So you have a window where at night when the sun goes down, to the next day when the sun goes down again. And when the sun goes down on the 1st, you are now into unleavened bread, the Sabbath, which will then come in on the night of April 2nd, going into April 3rd. So that will be the time of Passover that we will be celebrating. Now, shall we point fingers at other people's calendars and when they're celebrating? No. The thing is obedience. This is what we have declared as Yahweh's time of Eid. So we are held accountable to what we know and understand. Now, are we wrong? We can't count us being right or wrong as we can say anyone else is right or wrong. The point is, obedience is better than what? Sacrifice. So if we are obedient to this, what is happening now? Yeshua said, you shall do what? Greater works. So in order to do greater works, he says, by every word that comes from the mouth of Yahweh. And so what is he saying? He said, you shall celebrate it forever. So to celebrate Passover in the stance of obedience is greater than the death of Yeshua on the cross or on the stake. So therefore, we are doing greater works. Can we give Yahweh a praise? Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
And that's